Hi, Brian King here. I want to preface this conversation by paraphrasing something I overheard in a presentation given by my Zen teacher, Robert Joshin uh, Althaus Roshi, yesterday. And what he said is he was talking about Google, which is where so many people go for their information these days. And he said that Google doesn't tell us what's right, what's moral, or even what's important. It only tells us what's popular. Now, think about that and how important that is, because people will go to Google saying, oh, what's best practice in my work? Or what's the best thing to do for parenting? And they think Google is the place to be. No, it isn't. It tells you what's being searched the most. It tells you what's popular. And what's popular is often what is easy, or what is in agreement with the majority opinion, which isn't always the most enlightened. So keep that in mind. And the story coming out of Las Vegas today is no exception. You're going to find it all over the headlines. The old saying goes for media, if it bleeds, it leads. Does that mean it's the most important thing in our lives? Well, according to the media, they sure as heck want it to be the most important thing. They want it to be top of mind. They want it to be the thing you're talking about, the thing that you want every update for every minute. So you stay consuming their media. There's so much noise in the world today, and it's all jockeying for our attention to make us think that what's popular is what's important. No. What's important is what's in alignment with our values. And that's where I'm going with this. It's really easy to look at a situation like Las Vegas or any other mass shooting. And I admit, my first response was, what the fuck, again? And I had those feelings of outrage, those thoughts. What was wrong with this person? Why would somebody do this? What's wrong with this world? And it's really easy to get caught up in that train of thought until you realize what you're doing. And you realize that train of thought is not productive. It offers no solutions. It just adds one more victim to the pile, and that's you, because you feel helpless to change it. So I have some thoughts to share with you that are kind of the transition that I made from feeling like a victim and feeling outraged to feeling like I need to get more in line with my values. I need to make the world look more like it can be, like it needs to be, instead of simply being outraged at the fact that it's become what it's become, at least according to the media. One question is it an issue of gun control? Well, there's no doubt that the person who did this wouldn't have been able to inflict the damage that he did without that weapon. But it had to start somewhere. He didn't look at a gun and say, well, previous to looking at this gun, I have felt no urge to pull a trigger and hurt my fellow being whatsoever. Chances are that's not how it happens, so it's probably not the gun. But just what I've seen, from what I've studied, what I've read, I think in one respect, it really boils down to a loss of value of human life, or life in general. The fact that we kind of see each other as just numbers, objects. We don't look at another human being and see ourselves. I don't get the sense that people are valuing themselves the way they once did or ever did. When you look at the suicide rates, imagine how many people, how deeply do you have to be suffering to say, my life is not worth living? My life is not worth improving. It's not worth saving. I want to end it. And I know it's not a popular perception, but I think about the shooter in this case. How badly do you need to be suffering to think that an expression of yourself, the thing that you bring into the world, is carnage, is chaos, is mass suffering? Because the old cliche, hurt people. Imagine the depth of your pain if you think that the way to deal with it is to pick up a gun and just try to obliterate a crowd of concert goers. Now, it's not to say that you condone that kind of behavior because you have compassion, but you're aware of the fact that acts such as this are rooted in suffering. They're not necessarily rooted in evil, badness. Yeah, according to the psychiatric community, there are some people that have some legitimate neurological differences that require some mental health treatment. That is absolutely something that needs to be addressed. But punishment, anger, revenge, that's one response, but it's more so a reaction than a response. Proactivity is really lacking because there's all kinds of conversations that take place when these events happen. We need better mental health. We need better gun control. Nothing happens. And I think the reason nothing happens is because we're always looking for Big Brother to solve the problem. Government needs to pass better laws. Police need to do better enforcement. Okay, what are you going to do? One thing you can do is begin by looking at your values. What values do you live by that you could exercise in response, not in reaction, in response to events like this? So one of the things I start thinking about, since the lens I tend to look at the world through is much more along the lines of the Zen Buddhist teachings and compassion and kindness and resilience. So naturally, I'm going to look for solutions that fit those values. So what I first think of is I need to respond with compassion. I need to look at the root of the suffering that's generating this kind of behavior, this kind of thinking. Not only the behavior that caused the carnage, but the behavior that is a response to the carnage. Because if there's anger on both sides, we just have more fire. And that's not what we need more of. So by responding with compassion, not only do you look to ease the suffering, but you look at what's being created, what's positive, what kind of love is coming from this. So instead of fixating on the body count like the media does, it's already celebrating where this ranks in relationship to other mass killings. That's what it's showing. It's showing the body count. I want to know how many people are being helped. Where is the love showing up? Where is the compassion showing up in this story? They'll say, well, 400 have been sent to hospitals. Okay, that's great. That's kind of a reaction. What you don't hear are the stories of people being helped, people being loved. If you remember the Boston bombing from a couple years ago, you heard stories of nurses and patients getting married and friendships being formed out of that. Those are the important stories to hear, that in the midst of such chaos of seemingly endless pain where nothing but evil took place, you saw the human capacity for compassion and love and caring and seeing the other person as one of your own, saying, I will take care of you because we're in this together. Those are the kind of things I encourage you to start looking for. Maybe you can't rush to Las Vegas. Maybe you can't do something to change gun laws. But what can you do to inject a greater sense of community and love and value of human life towards yourself and towards other people today? Just remind other people that they're still good. There's still people that want to give them a hug and shake their hand and not blame them for their own woes. Because people that do things like this shooter, are big time blamers. They blame the rest of the world for their troubles, whatever those troubles may be. But when you take ownership of our collective human experience, not ownership in that it's your fault the world is having difficulty, but you take ownership of your piece of it, that you realize that you have absolute say in what you decide to put out there. So today, in the shadow of this event out in Las Vegas, my mind is now fixated after my initial outrage. My mind is now fixated on how can I live my values of compassion, of responsibility, of resilience in such a way where the world is reminded that there are still enough of us out there creating this. We don't have to respond by feeling like victims. It's not necessarily helpful to run for vengeance, blame the gun makers, blame the politicians. Blame solves nothing. It just removes responsibility from us. It disempowers us. It leaves us helpless because it gives us no options to take action because we're waiting for somebody else to do it. So what can you do today? How can you live your values to remind yourself and those around you that you still have the capacity to create the world you want to live in? So please share some of your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. Be a part of this very helpful conversation because we really need this now. We need this right now. And if this is something that you feel would resonate with others, please share. This has been Brian. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Have a beautiful day.